From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Celebrating the work of 4-H.
We can't stick in the past or get stuck in the past.
How it's taking its work beyond the show ring. As attention turns to the influence of world markets with congressional leaders in China.
We made clear we don't think that level playing field exists right now.
And an incursion on Israel.
We are at war with Hamas.
The impact that's having on commodities here at home right now on AgDay.
AgDay, presented by Pioneer. What's next happens when experience meets expertise. Pioneer. What's next happens here.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. We continue to follow a developing story that's impacting ag commodity markets here at home, the attack on Israel. Israel's military saying it has retaken control of all communities around Gaza. It comes after Hamas launched a surprise assault in which more than 800 people died. Many were attending a music festival. Israel on Sunday making a formal declaration of war on Hamas. On the ground, Israeli troops work to secure the breach points where Hamas fighters cross the border. While from the air, Israel pounds Gaza with strikes it says are aimed at Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad targets. But scores of women and children have been killed, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry.
We are at war with Hamas. And sadly, there might be people that are involved killed. It won't be intentional. And sadly, Hamas have entrenched themselves in a cynical way within the civilian population.
Now, the unprecedented attack shaking the international community. Two senior officials say the U.S., state, and defense departments are moving as quickly as they can to deliver weapons to Israel as part of already existing contracts. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin says a U.S. carrier strike group is headed to the eastern Mediterranean Sea as a deterrence posture. News of the attack sent oil prices climbing and stocks slipping. AgDay's Michelle Rook joins us. And Michelle, those weren't the only markets watching this news to start the week.
That's for sure. The ag markets reacted as another war in the world adds another layer of concern to the marketplace that fueled the demand bears in perishable products like meats, while geopolitical premium was added to other markets. One of those was crude oil, which spills over to impact ethanol and renewable diesel margins. But it also hit cattle and hogs with risk-off funds selling on concerns about what another war will mean for an already fragile U.S. and world economy when it comes to consumer demand. And again, markets don't like uncertainty.
Now with this new war breaking out with Israel and Hamas, now it brings a whole new level of uncertainty and what our involvement's going to be. And that will play out here this week. It's certainly going to bring some uncertainty to the markets and continue to cause a little bit of back and forth trading. It's certainly pushing crude oil markets higher.
Meanwhile, wheat was another market that added some geopolitical or risk premium.
Because now the world has to split its attention with the Middle East and with Russia, and I just honestly wouldn't be surprised if Russia wouldn't use this opportunity when they're not being watched as closely to escalate what's going on in the Ukraine. And so I think the wheat market rightly is putting a little bit of premium in.
Beadle says funds covered some of their short positions in wheat because they are heavily short in all three wheat exchanges. I'm Michelle Rook reporting for AgDay.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Also making world news, Chinese President Xi Jinping holding a surprise meeting with a visiting U.S. Senate delegation. The U.S. group, led by Senate Majority Leader Democrat Chuck Schumer of New York. The group included 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans. Experts saying this could be a strong indication that President Xi may attend the APEC summit in San Francisco, where a meeting with President Biden is anticipated. The visit by a U.S. congressional delegation is the first of its kind since 2019. The group also meeting with China's foreign minister and other leaders of the Chinese Communist Party.
We made clear to President Xi that America wants fairness and stability. At the foundation of the relationship must be a level playing field for American businesses and workers, as well as responsible competition. We made clear we don't think that level playing field exists right now.
Schumer had also told China's foreign minister he was disappointed by China's failure to strongly condemn the attack on Israel. Beijing's foreign ministry saying later that China is, quote, deeply saddened by the civilian casualties caused by the conflict.
Yields in the Fields on Ag Day is brought to you by Micro Essentials, the super granule that packs balanced nutrition into a single granule for uniform nutrient distribution, increased nutrient uptake, and season-long sulfur availability. Beating commodity fertilizers every time. Supercharge your yields with the Mighty Micro from Mosaic.
It looks like cooler than normal temperatures are expected to stick around for a few more days in portions of farm country. Meteorologist Matt Engelbrecht has more.
Yeah, we're still seeing the extremes showing up in the temperature map. That has more to do with where that jet stream is located than anything else. So between October 14th and the 18th, you got a pocket of cool, if not cold air across nearly 2/3 of the United States. And that is going to open up, again, more chances for some frost, if not sub-freezing temperatures going forward. A different story on the West Coast as we have a ridge that's going to keep things warm and toasty with above normal temperatures. Go ahead and take a look at your screen here. This is coming in Iowa. Chad sending this one in, sharing this picture of harvest, saying nothing to see here, literally, with all that dust flying in Iowa. Checking those yields in the fields, Chad says corn is yielding 250 plus an acre. And for beans, they're in the upper 70s. So despite the dust, so far, so good. I'll have more in your forecast coming up.
Happening later this week, USDA will release its latest crop production forecast. And last month, those numbers were based on educated guesses. USDA says this month represents the agency's first opportunity to gauge on a large scale what farmers are seeing for themselves as they move into harvest. Officials say they've been surveying about 8,000 farmers for what they're seeing when it comes to harvest and yield information. But USDA has been out in the field as well.
We actually sample fields of these crops, and we send our trained enumerators into those fields. They go to select locations, take counts, measurements, and this time of year they're harvesting those portions of the field and sending them off to our lab in St. Louis where we're measuring yield for ourselves.
With that in mind, Honig believes the upcoming report will be close to what actual production will turn out to be. We will bring you those numbers online when they're released Thursday at noon Eastern Time. You can look for team coverage Friday morning on Ag Day. More farmers could soon be using drones to spray pesticides in California. Leaders putting a new law on the books, which the California Farm Bureau says will expedite training and licensing programs that will allow more farmers to use drones for pesticide applications. Now, officials say it will allow farmers to save on crop production costs by allowing drones to target affected areas instead of entire fields. They also say drones can replace backpack, spray, and ground-based delivery systems with remote technologies, which will protect farm workers from close contact with pesticides. It's taken a couple of years, but restaurant employment is finally above its pre-pandemic levels. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says restaurants, bars, and other food service outlets added nearly 61,000 jobs in September. Now, according to the National Restaurant Association, that's roughly 30,000 higher than February 2020, when many bars and restaurants were forced to close their doors. Now, today, there are still fewer restaurants than there were in 2019. The Mexican alcohol industry is thriving here in the U.S. CNBC reports agave-based spirits like tequila and mezcal are experiencing unprecedented popularity here, so much so that the U.S. has emerged as the largest market for Mexican spirits and top beers. Now, experts say it's driven by effective marketing strategies, shifting consumer preferences, and the growing Hispanic population. As we mentioned, commodity markets are trying to sort out all of the latest headlines. We'll run through the list coming up next. And later, celebrating 4-H week with a look at some of the newest projects from Louisiana today in the country. Farm worker salaries now average more than $15 per hour, but still trail workers in other industries. The latest data comes from USDA. In 2022, the average earnings of all non-supervisory farm workers, those that work in field and livestock settings, was $16.62 per hour. When compared to similar workers and jobs outside of agriculture, farm workers earn just under 60% of what their non-ag counterparts earn. Now, that wage gap has been relatively steady the last couple of years. The average for all workers in the U.S., $32 an hour. Now, farm workers continue to have low levels of education. NASS says just a quarter completed some high school, while only 14% have an education beyond high school. Some futures made early gains due to the attack in Israel, but gave them back Monday afternoon. Michelle Rook is back with more on market dynamics at play.
It was a down day in the markets on Monday, except for wheat. Mark Schultz with North Star Commodity joining us. And Mark, I know the Middle East conflict, did that help support the wheat market? And what are the long-term implications of that conflict?
Well, I think for starters, if it can just stay between Israel and Hamas, then I think it doesn't have a significant impact. If by chance it spreads, and I still would say the country that everybody would want to watch to see that you don't want to get involved in, and that would be Iran. If that happens, that would probably be very friendly and bullish to the energy complex, likely start being more negative for the equity markets in general.
Yeah, and it all weaves together there in terms of money flow in the ag sector. Corn and soybeans, though, a down day on Monday. How much of it was harvest pressure? How much just positioning ahead of the WASDE Thursday?
I would say the positioning for the WASDE probably starts to come into play here. When you look at the weather and you look at where we are with the harvest, and we'll start with the weather, you're going to have a warmer, drier pattern here for the next 2 to 3 days. So the farmers are going to push it really hard here to get as much out as they can on both corn and soybeans. And I would say for the most part, in the Western Corn Belt, I think the soybean harvest is probably 65% complete, if not already in places where a number of farmers are already done and moved on to the corn in here. So I think right now we're going to sit back. You're going to look at the WASDE report. When you look at the big picture and you look at yield reports and things like this coming in from customers, I would say maybe we get a little bit smaller on the bean yield when it's all said and done. Corn, I think, can go either way, but it's just not going to be down enough to have any type of a significant impact on the market. So I think it just kind of buys a little bit of time in here. I'm more concerned about trying to get some demand back into the big picture. That's what we need more than anything else.
Yeah, and the chart's pretty beat up on soybeans, and we're down to some critical support.
Yeah, the 1250 on November beans is pretty key. If we break that, then I think you probably got an opportunity to go all the way down to 1210, something like that on the November beans. So I think this 1250 is kind of critical. Looking for some timing for possibility of a low coming in next week. Maybe we put it in this week and try to move up a little bit quicker. So hopefully the seasonal time period is at least trying to find some type of a low to occur here, both beans and in the corn market.
Thanks for joining us, Mark Schultz, North Star Commodity. We'll have more AgDay coming up.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
Now I want to start off looking at the precipitation and forecast because there's two systems that we're going to be watching pretty closely in regards to rainfall this week. And both of them starting to take shape Monday and Tuesday and then impacting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and through the weekend. The first one is going to be back down here to the south and the east. So with that cooler air in place, expect a weak low pressure system to bring in some rain through portions of Louisiana all the way into Florida and South Carolina. Now come back up here towards the Midwest. You can kind of paint the picture. Another low pressure system working from the west to the east in and across the Dakotas, as well as Iowa and Minnesota, including the Midwest. What that is going to do is actually bring in some warmer air for a short while before a cold front drives those temperatures back down going into the weekend. Now, once we're done with those two systems, you look at the precipitation outlook between October 14th and the 18th, and where those systems leave. Now they're leaving behind some dry air. That's both in the southeast and back up here into the plains and the Dakotas after those two systems move out. So once we get on the other side of this week, and especially this weekend, the pattern's going to shift back to drier than average or normal. Show you what this looks like from the jet stream perspective. So this is the jet stream on Tuesday. There's our pocket of cooler, drier air sitting right over parts of Canada. So long as that is there, we're not going to get a lot of ridging or warmth for 2/3 of the United States. So that includes North Carolina northward, but also back out here towards the west as well. That second system that we're looking at, it is going to be stacked from the surface all the way up into the jet stream and work from the east to the west, bringing that rainfall. Anytime you match the jet stream up with a low pressure system at the surface, that gives us a little bit more in the atmosphere in terms of lift. That means the flooding potential is going to be higher along those locations going into Saturday. Now, this starts to move into Michigan and the Midwest as we get into the weekend. We'll start off with South Dakota. Winter, sunny, high around 73 degrees, 44 degrees. Let's go to Minnesota. Winter, partly cloudy, high around 54 degrees. Did you guess it? Missouri. Winter, partly cloudy, high around 66.
The holidays are just around the corner, and that's good news for dairy demand. We'll have details next. And later, 4-H goes beyond the show ring. We'll take a look at some of the new projects getting attention in Louisiana, in the country. Well, there hasn't been a lot of good news lately when it comes to dairy prices. Here's something to celebrate. The holiday butter rally is underway. It may even be a little early. The CME spot butter price hit a new all-time high at the end of last month and then closed even higher at $3.34 a pound last Monday and then $3.42 a pound the day after. In fact, since the beginning of last month, the CME spot butter price has climbed 74 cents. The rapid increase surprising some in the industry, especially since the year started with stronger butter production. Now, smaller supplies and good demand here at home over the summer helped to push prices higher.
Well, I think part of it is it's had really good demand. I mean, we've got reasonable but on the low side of stocks, but demand has just been great. Domestic demand has been strong for butter. So I think we're getting to that time of year where retailers start getting concerned about, are we going to have enough butter for the holiday season? That's the big demand part of the year. So I think you get that nervousness. You've got good demand already through this year and relatively low inventories.
Lane adds that as processors make more cheese ahead of the holidays, that's pulling in some of the milk that would have gone toward butter, which is helping Class 4 milk prices, as well as helping drive the price of butter to all-time highs. And something else to celebrate, the crowning of a Supreme Champion over the weekend at the World Dairy Expo in Madison, Wisconsin. A Holstein named Shakira taking the top honors. Her full name is Herb Acres Snapple Shakira E.T. Now, she has a full list of awards, including being named Supreme Champion back in 2021. And she received the title again on Friday night during the Parade of Champions at the Alliant Energy Center on Friday. Shakira is owned by a group of breeders and dairy producers in Quebec. Well, many 4-H'ers have spent time in the show ring. Well, up next, a look at some of the other projects getting attention in Louisiana clubs in the country. Last week was National 4-H Week, but it's worth pointing out that 4-H work goes on year-round. In Louisiana, 4-H personnel are working on foundational programs such as livestock projects, but as LSU Ag Center correspondent Craig Gautreaux tells us, they're also focusing on today's tech world.
Today, 4-H has many more programs available, including those that take a more modern approach.
We have over 6 million youth that participate in 4-H on a national level and over 90,000 here in Louisiana. It gives us an opportunity to showcase our project areas, our programs, and the diversity we offer for our kids in Louisiana.
One area of focus is outdoor activities. Shooting sports is one of the largest programs and has captured the national competition 3 of the past 4 years. ATV safety is another outdoor component, along with a wetlands ecology program called Marsh Maneuvers.
We want to go where the kids are. We can't stick in the past or get stuck in the past. We need to move toward the future and look at things that kids want to do on a daily basis and what affects their lives.
Technology plays a role in today's modern 4-H. Drones and underwater robotics teach important skills that prepare youth for careers.
So our drone program is awesome because it lets kids develop coding skills and fly drones manually, whereas our Sea Perch program allows youth to solder and engineer their drones to perform tasks underwater.
A cornerstone of 4-H is health and nutrition. Youth engaged in events like the 4-H Food Challenge learn important nutritional information and lifelong skills related to food preparation.
Even if they don't become professional chefs, everybody has to eat. And so to some extent, every day of being an adult is a food challenge. They learn how to cook and provide for themselves and their families.
While 4-H maintains many successful traditional programs, it is making room for new programs with new applications. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gocho reporting.
All right, thanks, Craig. Across the country, there are more than 500,000 volunteers and 3,500 4-H professionals mentoring 4-Hers. And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.